The man spent all his savings on a first-class ticket. He planned to conduct a business deal with a very wealthy man, but after they shook hands, the tycoon kept sanitizing his hand, and had his bodyguard hurriedly escort the man to the economy class section. The man, Mara, was furious. He insisted he had the right to stay in first class. However, he underestimated the power of capital. The tycoon simply whispered to the flight attendant, and the plane turned around. Mara was deeply humiliated. He was kicked off the plane, but the tycoon never dreamed that this poor man would become his most formidable rival. As Mara walked out of the airport, a mysterious white-haired man named Babu stopped him. Babu had overheard Mara's plan on the plane to start a low-cost airline. In India, 90% of people couldn't afford to fly, so a low-cost airline was a business opportunity. Babu brought Mara back to his company. After a risk assessment, the shareholders unanimously opposed the investment. Purchasing planes required huge capital, and might not get government approval. But Mara said, there's no need to buy planes, they could lease them from the US first. At that time, after the September 11th, Boeing had many unsold planes. They could lease them at half price. This once-in-a-lifetime opportunity wouldn't last long. The shareholders agreed, but the funds would take at least 6 months to arrive. Babu asked Mara to pay the deposit first, but Mara couldn't come up with $6 million. Even after mortgaging his house and farmland, he still needed $4 million. He had to borrow a high-interest loan from the village's richest man. When the richest man heard Mara wanted to buy a plane, he was shocked. Although he wanted to help, buying a plane seemed too risky. Mara had to agree to a 30% higher interest rate. Then the richest man agreed. But when Mara went to the aviation authority to apply for a license, the director was arrogant. He didn't even give Mara a chance to speak. Mara waited in the hall from sunrise to sunset. Finally, the director came. Mara greeted him hopefully, but the director made an excuse about reporting to his superior, and told Mara to come back next Monday. But when he arrived at the aviation authority on Monday, a staff member told him the director was on leave. This ignited hope was shattered in an instant. He sat in a crowded train station. His enthusiasm gradually solidified into depression. Since the path to success was blocked, he decided to carve his own path. He found a former classmate who worked at a newspaper, and poured out his idea, begging to be introduced to the Prime Minister. However, the Prime Minister's office was heavily guarded. Mara had to disguise himself as a journalist to get in, but the bodyguards weren't fooled. They stopped him at the last barrier, just one step away from the Prime Minister. Mara shouted his idea into the room. The concept of a low-cost airline caught the Prime Minister's attention. He allowed Mara a 2-minute meeting. Currently, India's poor lacked convenient travel options. Mara's proposed airline could solve this, but the Prime Minister was puzzled. Why would a poor boy start an airline?